all who come to this happy place, welcome.
What is it about Disney that makes us happy? Is it the magical whistle as your ticket is scanned at the main gate? Is it the seafaring smell of pirate water? Or is it charting a course to a land where you may never grow up? Whether it's singing a familiar song, watching a movie, or riding your favorite attraction for the 100th time, Disney undeniably has a way to warm our hearts, believe in magic, and bring joy into our lives. This is Main Gate Magic, a podcast where we break down and discuss the infectious happiness, delight, and thrill of all things Disney. All right, we should be live. This is our very first episode, and hello and thank you and welcome everybody to Main Gate Magic, our very, very first episode. Let's get a round of applause. Yay! All right. There's a lot of people in the audience. That's crazy. I'm your host, Jason Braden, and I'm super excited to be doing this. It's been a bit of a ride. Conceptualizing this, getting all the knowledge of how to create a podcast. I've done a podcast before, but not my own. It was for Adventurous Ideas, and we can get into that in some other episode. But this one's all me, and I'm very, very, very happy to have two co-hosts with me. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them now. I'm going to introduce my lovely wife, Lisa. Lisa, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. And my good friend, Mimi, is also on. Say hello, Mimi.
Hello, everyone.
Excellent. I'm going to go ahead and apologize in advance. I am also, not also, but I am kind of coming down from a little bit of a infliction of COVID after I got back from my trip from Florida. So I might go on mute every once in a while to cough it out, but we'll see how it goes.
As will I.
And yes,
As will
yeah.
I.
So you're still not feeling well?
No, and now the little one's sick too.
Oh no!
So it's a family illness. It's a good time.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot more of that going around. Even another friend of mine said that his whole household is sick. So it's just one of those things. It's always going around. The winter's not over yet, apparently. Even though that groundhog said that we were going to be in for an early spring, I think the sickness still enjoys the cold out there. So this is our first episode. I thought I'd kick things off with a little round table about each one of us, and also kind of go into some background about why I created this particular podcast. Because there's lots of Disney podcasts out there. We know that. But I figured it'd be interesting to kind of tell people the reason why this particular one exists and why I thought about it. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to tell everybody a bit about myself, and then we'll just kind of go around the screen, and you guys can do your intros from there. Sound good?
Yep.
Cool.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, so again, my name is Jason Braden. I am 50 years old. I grew up in Southern California, and I've been a very big Disney fan ever since I was a little tyke. And I can almost remember my first trip when my parents took me, and I can certainly remember my first trip to Tom Sawyer's Island because I got lost on there, even though my parents didn't lose me. But aside from that bad memory, even though it was just a learning experience, I have many, many, many happy memories of not only Disneyland, but all the Disney parks and all the TV shows. Wonderful World of Disney was like my favorite thing growing up as a kid. Sunday nights were always my favorite. After coming home from dinner, we'd sit down in front of the TV and watch whatever was in store for us. Used to watch the Mickey Mouse Club. I had the Golden Books with the little records that I used to listen to. And my very first one that I remember was Peter Pan, and I used to listen to the audio on the record and also read along with the book. So I mean, you get the idea. I've been a Disney fan for many, many years now. We live in Northern California, but that does not stop us from still going to visiting the parks. We are still avid Disney fans. I am the father of 3 adult children. I've been happily married now been married for 10 plus years, but together with my Disney queen here for 20 plus years now. So something to be very proud of. And even though she is a fan as well, she will say that I am definitely the bigger fan of the two of us. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, very much.
Yeah. I've got a career. I have a full-time career where I work from home. It's an office job. It's a 9 to 5er. It pays the bills. But I've also recently gotten into voice acting. I am also into narration for both theme parkology and adventurous ideas. If you guys are interested, you can Google search those. They're fantastic sites. And you can also go to jbvoices.com to check out my work. And in addition to all of this stuff and the many hats that I am wearing currently, I am also creating t-shirts that are going to be eventually advertised on this show and sold through an Etsy shop with the same name for Main Gate Magic. And I don't have any to show right now. I feel like I need to build up some more. So we'll get to that maybe in the next episode and hopefully have things for sale. Final wrap up here. Over the past couple of years, I have befriended some extraordinary people at Disney conventions and Star Wars conventions, being tied to adventurous ideas and theme parkology. And a lot of the people that I have met, some Disney celebrities and some just fantastic voice actors, visual effects artists, producers, directors, writers, got quite an entourage of people that I've just become friends with over the years, and I am going to be hoping to have some of those people on this show as well as special guests. So stay tuned for future episodes to find out who that is. And then the final thing that I'm going to say, and I know I've been kind of like, taking a lot of breaths here and saying a lot of things. You guys definitely don't have to say as much as me. But I wanted us to each say at the end of our intro what Disney means to us. And I've kind of already covered it. There's a lot of happy memories that I have from Disney. And there's just so much joy that it brings me. Not only going to the parks, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, internationally, which I haven't had the honor to do yet, but I hope to someday. And I feel like the kind of joy that Disney brings us into our lives when we try to push aside all the negativity is what helps keep us young. And that's one of the main reasons why I started this podcast. That's the reason why I love Disney so much, and the reason why I think I will always just be a fan. So I know that was a mouthful, and sorry I took up so much time on that, but let's go around the screen. Mimi, let's do you next. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and what does Disney mean to you?
Well, my name is Mimi. I'm 30 years old. Disney has been a significant part of my life from my very earliest memories of pretending to be Cinderella and forcing my mom's boyfriend at the time to be Prince Charming in every instant of my life. Constant Disney parks or Disneyland visits as a child. And then in adulthood, I went and worked at the parks for about 3 years, from 2016 to 2019. Actually, it was exactly 3 years when I left. I miss it all the time. I wish I could go back. Disney is everything. Disney is everything. Disney is home. Disney is home.
I
don't think there's anything I can describe on this planet that feels more like being comfortable and at peace than being at Disney, which is something you would not expect for a park that is full of thousands and thousands of people and you're sweating and bumping into people. And that doesn't sound peaceful, but it is. It is. Disney is home.
I love that. And that's something that we are going to kind of be discussing today as part of today's topic, which is the opening day speech that Walt Disney gave in 1955. And that is, I think, one thing that he really wanted us to feel like when we're there is like we're at another home. And I know a lot of people feel the same way. And I know a lot of people have said, like, it's like my second home.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
All right. Baby, and I'm gonna call you baby even on the podcast, even though your name is Lisa. But this is just so everybody knows that is our pet nicknames for each other. I'm baby and she's baby. So y'all are just gonna have to get used to it. There's gonna be a lot of sugar in the show.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Okay, so again, so I'm Lisa. And as Jason kind of stole a lot of my things that I would say, I was going to talk about how long we've been together, and our very first trip away from kids, friends, family when we were first dating was a quick weekend trip to Disneyland, and we had an amazing time. Um, let's see. I have worked in the same career for 33 years, and I'm looking forward to possibly retiring in the next 5 years. So I'm ready for it. I'm a little under Jason's 50. Yeah. So, anyways, what does Disney mean to me? Well, first of all, my favorite thing about Disney is I always get to go with my best friend.
All
That's
right,
my
that's me, right?
Yes, that's you.
Okay, I just making sure. We're on public record now. This is going to be like immortalized, so I just got to make sure that it's
Okay.
out there.
Yeah. So I love going to the park with my best friend, and we were annual pass holders, legacy holders. We did a year of keys. We probably will be hopefully purchasing keys again very soon.
Hopefully.
And so we spent a lot of time at the parks. And whether it was, see, Jason is not afraid to do solo days. So he goes to the park more than I ever get to, which is fine. I don't mind. But it's just being there with my baby and, people watching, riding rides, and not stressing about, oh, well, I couldn't ride every ride I wanted, right?
Right.
We're just like, we'll be back.
Yep.
So we never worry about the crowds or, if something gets shut down, or this time on our trip that was being refurbished, because we know we're going to be back and we're going to have fun when we return. So
Absolutely.
And then I wanted to say hello to my dear friend Kay. Thank you for joining the podcast today. Thank you. And I did see that you have your ears on. So solidarity, thank you so much.
Yep, there's her comment. Hello, Kay. Thanks for joining, and thanks for everybody who was on and signing on. I really appreciate it. I know I've been pushing it on social media lately, but I really want to get the word out there, and I think this is going to be something fun to do. I'm excited. I have so many ideas and so many discussions and so many topics and so many people that I want to have on. I just want to burst at the seams to talk about them all, but we'll get to that later. So I'm sorry, did you answer what Disney means to you? Is that pretty much okay?
Getting to be with you, but I do have one more quick little introduction.
Yes.
Because
bring her on.
She might pop in and out. Sorry.
Although she's probably being reluctant right now.
Of course.
There she is.
So this is Bianca. And as you can see, Bianca always has her Minnie Mouse collar on. And her name tag is also Disney. And Bianca is named after a Disney character.
That's right.
We rescued her.
Yes.
So we thought it would be fitting to give her a name from the Rescuers.
Right. She's very fitting name.
Bianca.
Definitely a lot better than what she had before, which was Kiki, and neither one of us liked that name. It's a cute name, but we both had reasons of not wanting to call her that. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah, so she will be making appearances here and there, whether we want her to or not. But she's already fed and she went potty, so it's she should be out of the picture for a little while. All right, so thanks for commenting, guys. I've put a few comments up there. I see we've got a few people in there. No questions just yet, just a lot of hellos. But if you guys have any questions about us or maybe what to expect on the podcast or any suggestions for future episodes, I'd be very, very happy to see them and welcome all suggestions. It doesn't mean that I'll pick them all for those smartasses out there. And you all know who I'm talking about. Those are you who know. But for now, since we got introductions aside, I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of a spiel about the reason that I created this podcast. And I kind of lightly touched on it earlier. And the obvious one being that I am such a big fan of Disney. And I know a lot of people who are fans of Disney. But I've been feeling like there's a lot of negativity out there in the media surrounding Disney, and whether it's the prices in the parks or, whether how movies are being made, leadership decisions, casting decisions, actors being used, things that people are just focusing on seem to be things that the phrase tends to start off with, "I hate that Disney is doing this and that." I hate that people are starting Disney discussions with the word hate. So that's what this podcast is about. We want to bring in the positive stuff and help sort of balance things out. And when you're tired of hearing all of the bad things that are happening, people still have a tendency to go regardless. They still watch movies. They still subscribe to Disney Plus. They still watch the TV shows. They still go to the parks. They still pay the money that they complain about paying to go. And why? Because it makes us happy. It makes us feel good. And that's the kind of stuff that I really, really wanted to bring back into the world. So I'm hoping that that's the kind of audience we're going to get to. I'm not saying that everybody feels the same way. And I'm also not saying that a lot of the negativity out there that I disagree with it, because obviously everybody's got an opinion, and I've got a few opinions about things as well. And we'll talk about that kind of stuff too, but we will just tend to not focus on the negativity of it all. I hope that all makes sense.
Question in the chat.
Oh, we do.
did.
Let's see. Mr. Jerry Cornell. I think I know that guy. Asks.
Might have heard of him once or twice.
Yeah. He tends to intervene here and there. What all of your favorite rides at Disneyland? What's our favorite rides? That is so unfair to ask that question.
Right. I'm like, wait, which part? And
I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
I mean,
well, he say Disneyland, so we can narrow it to Disneyland Park.
Oh yeah, so that's pretty. I mean, but even still, it's hard to narrow it down. So I already know what the obvious ones are going to be, but baby, why don't you go ahead and kick this one off?
Okay, so somebody actually asked me this like about a week and a half ago, and I told them that it's really difficult to pick between two. So I'm just going to give you my top two, and they're interchangeable, really, because they're both my favorites. And that would be Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, see, I'm going to give one of those. You stole my answer. Because, that's like our go-to rides. It's the ones that we always go to whenever we're waiting for the next Lightning Lane time to come. Well, what do you want to do in the meantime? Let's go on Pirates. Let's go on Haunted Mansion. Well, what do you want to ride on before we leave the park? Pirates or Haunted Mansion, almost always.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mimi.
For personal reasons that I will not explain in this podcast, but perhaps in a future one, the Haunted Mansion is very high up on my list. And always has been. Pirates is hard not to want to put up there too. But I have a very special place in my heart for Peter Pan's Flight. Anybody who knows me knows I have a little bit of a problem when it comes to Peter Pan. My daughter's name is Wendy. So here we are.
Well, and that's actually kind of how we got to meet too.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, I mean, not at Disneyland itself, but for those of you who don't know, who haven't heard the story, Mimi and I actually met on an app called Smule Sing. And
it's like a karaoke app, but some people uploaded like blank versions of Disney scenes on there that you can do. And I was constantly like once a week putting up the scenes of Peter meeting Wendy and stuff because I love to do that voice. And Jason would join me like every single time. And so
as Peter Pan, believe it or not, I mean, I know you guys, I'm hoping those who watched when we first went live were watching the little intro video, and when you hear Peter Pan going, "Here we go," that's not from the ride. That's actually me doing the voice. So so I would do Peter Pan and she would be Wendy, and we did other stuff as well. I mean, like
all kinds of stuff.
Aladdin and
It's in Mary
Jasmine
Poppins,
and
Aladdin, and yeah.
Little Mermaid and stuff like
Oh
that. Or
yeah.
I was
Oh yeah.
where I was Scuttle. Scuttle's one of my favorites. So yeah,
Good stuff.
that
That's
was
really
always
good
fun.
stuff.
We need to do an episode where we're just doing scenes from the
Oh
shows.
God, I'm sold. Done.
I think
Yeah.
that'd be
do
a
it.
lot of fun.
And
All right, so
I love to hear when you guys are when you were doing that in the past. I loved it. But I don't quite have the voice for it, so I don't.
you've got the knowledge though.
Oh yeah.
You're like my Disney news source in the house. I mean, every time that I feel like I have a story that I've heard about and I'm like, "Oh, hey baby, did you hear about that?" "Oh yeah, I knew about that like 2 days ago."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Okay, well, you didn't say anything." Okay, so we both know what our favorite rides are at the park. So we both seem to have similar, taste between the two. Pick the next favorite one, and we'll just call that our favorite one for this episode, since we all kind of nulled each other's decisions out.
Yeah.
Somebody go first. Mimi, next favorite ride.
I said Peter Pan's Flight. That's
You said
mine.
Peter Pan. Okay, that's fine. Baby, what's yours?
I'm sold.
That's not Pirates or Haunted Mansion.
Your next favorite one,
Next
after those.
Favorite. That would be Alice in Wonderland.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. And I'm going to probably go with Alice is a good one, but since I'm not going to choose something that you already chose, I'm actually going to say the teacups. Because, and especially because, like, when we go, it's always the best, I mean, even though I hated it when I was younger, I'm not a big fan of spinning rides, but I've grown to like it now, and it's one of the ones that we actually have lots of fun on. And again, reference to the opening video, we are actually on the teacups at the end of that video, so
Right.
lots and lots of fun there.
And I think another favorite that we have that would be right behind Alice and the Teacups is Mr. Toad.
Mr. Toad is a lot of fun, yeah. Needs a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to get one more question from Jerry, and then we're going to kind of go back into our main topic here. Is there an attraction that we don't like?
I thought we weren't doing negativity here.
I know mine. You want me to go first?
Say it. It's probably all of ours.
It's a Small World.
Bingo.
I love It's a Small World.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
It's okay.
If I had to pick one I didn't like, probably the Astro Orbiter, because it's lackluster on the ground.
Yes.
If it were in the air, it would have a purpose.
Yes, it's a lot of fun. It's like a Dumbo, but the only difference is that it's in a horrible position because they moved it from the top of where the People Mover was down to the ground. So now you don't have the height, but when you do have the height, you're leaning like this the whole time because it doesn't adjust like Dumbo where it keeps even the whole time. So, but
There's such good questions coming in though.
Yeah.
well, okay. Well, it's okay. We got time. I mean, the topic of the speech is it's going to be quick. I was really hoping to get some more interaction. But here's the thing. If I'm going to be focusing on the positive. So even though we each have rides that are not necessarily our favorites, rides that we can go to the park and say, I don't need to ride that today. It's not my favorite. My favorite thing to do with those kinds of rides is go on them with people who have never been. And then they become something that I like. Because it becomes new. If it's new for them, it's new for me too, because I get to experience it with them. And if they come off of it saying, yeah, I can see why they don't like that ride. Hey, you know what? I got to experience that with you for the very, very first time. So I'm happy about that.
Something specific here? Are you referencing something that happened in Florida? Because I feel like you're referencing something that happened in Florida.
No, actually, in general, just in general.
Okay.
But no. Okay, so let's see. Next question from Venetia. Oh, Kay. Kay asked the show on best place to eat and drink.
So I think she's suggesting that as a topic.
Ooh,
Oh,
that's
I see.
good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a good concept.
Food is a definitely good thing to talk about, especially,
Yes.
oh, you know what we need to do is we need to do an episode right after a food festival.
Right.
Oh yeah, that'd be
When
great.
California Adventure does all the food festivals down there, especially I think the wine one is happening now, right? The food and wine.
Yes, if I'm not mistaken.
It
For
is.
those who don't know, they set up all these booths everywhere, and you can get these tickets that you can just hand off, and you get these amazing little hors d'oeuvre sized things to eat, and they're all different, sometimes from different regions of California or the country, and they're kind of poshy gourmet stuff, and it's so good. So good.
It really is.
And as Lisa
Uh,
said, it's foo-foo food.
Foo-foo food, yes. It can be a little foo-foo, but even sometimes foo-foo surprises me. Let's see. Amanda is asking, is there a version of a ride that you prefer on one coast versus the other?
Yes.
That is a really good question.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. I'm gonna start
can
this
think of
one
a
off because I
couple.
have a couple. Yeah, I was gonna say I have a couple, but the one that I'm gonna actually pick, surprisingly, is because I think I know which one you're gonna pick, Wendy. Or Mimi, sorry. Jeez. I knew that would happen at least once.
Oh no, it's starting.
It does. I mean, baby, how many times do I call her Wendy?
All the time.
Yeah. It's like I'm talking to your daughter. I'm just gonna call you Wendy from now on. It's just gonna be so much easier.
There we go. Just make it easier.
The Haunted
Oh,
Mansion.
so your phone makes
The
it
Haunted
easier.
Mansion is actually one that I have a favorite of on the West versus the East Coast, and I have to say that the one on the East Coast is my favorite. And even though the one on the West Coast has its own charm to it, and I would never grow tired of it, there are things that are different at the Haunted Mansion on the East Coast than there are on the West Coast. There's different rooms. There are things that are in the queue at Disneyland that are actually on the ride at the Magic Kingdom in Florida. So things are a little bit backwards, and that's one thing that we said like to no end is that everything there is like backwards. Like if it's on the right-hand side when you're at Disneyland, it's on the left-hand side when you're in Florida. It's so bizarre. It's like you're in an alternate universe. But that particular one, I think, is one that I like better on the East than the West. Mimi.
Having just gone to Walt Disney World last weekend, for the first time in the ability to remember, because the last time I went, I was like 6 years old and can't remember at all. Can personally say, I mean, everybody would say pirates. Everybody would say pirates. That's just what everyone will say, is that pirates is better on the West Coast. That's a given. There's a reason behind it. I could get into it. I'm not going to look it up. Western River Expedition. But picking something that everybody would not say, I'm going to say the Jungle Cruise on the East Coast I liked way better than the Jungle Cruise on the West Coast. And I wonder, I'm not sure if it's because the jokes were fresh and they were different jokes than I'm used to, or if it was because of the cool show scenes that they have there that are different. Either way, I like the Jungle Cruise better on the East Coast.
We had a really amazing skipper. And
oh my God, what was her name? Was it Natalie? I think it was Skipper
Natalie. I think it was Natalie, and she had a running joke that she told through the entire thing about how elephants never forget. Or she's like, I have a fun fact about elephants. I can't remember it right now, but I'll have to get around to it later because elephants never forget. And she would just repeat this like throughout the entire ride, which I believe is longer on the East Coast than it is on the West Coast.
It's definitely longer.
Yeah. Baby, what about you? Which you've been to a few parks in Florida with me, so what do you think?
It's not even a ride. It's just I prefer Disneyland over the parks in Florida.
I get that.
It's the OG. I get it. Yeah.
It's just how I feel. I feel like the things that I want to ride are perfectly at Disneyland, and when you go to the East Coast, you might need to go to 3 parks to ride your favorites.
That's true. That's very true.
I don't really have like a ride version I like better. But yeah, I just prefer Disneyland.
It's one of the main reasons why I haven't gone to MGM Studios, or not MGM, just Disney Studios now. I think it used to be MGM.
It did.
But
I went when it was MGM.
did you?
I
I
remember.
think it's funny because that's the acronym for this show is Main Gate Magic, MGM.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's the reason I haven't gone there because there's a lot of rides there that I've already been on at other Disney parks. So the other rides that I haven't been on there, I'm like, I don't need to pay an extra admission to go on those. I'm okay.
Oh, and I want to throw out this caveat. I have only been to the Disney parks in the United States. So
yes, same.
That does not mean that I have not spent obscene hours watching ride-throughs of Phantom Manor in Disneyland Paris.
Oh my God!
I know that ride better than I know my own body, and I've never been on it.
You need to pick a new priority. I think you should know yourself more than you know a Disney ride. But
don't
that's just
need
me
food.
talking.
I just need Disneyland Paris's Phantom Manor. That's all I need.
Thank God for YouTube, right? Let's see. Amanda's asking, do you think the enhancements to the Haunted Mansion queue in California will change your opinion of the versions?
I'm so excited for that.
I honestly, do you guys have any insight on what specifically is changing besides the queue?
They posted, well, it's just the queue.
It's just the queue.
Uh-huh.
And there's going to be a store now at the exit of the ride, kind of like they have in Florida with Memento Mori, which is good because they've had I'm sorry, my working in stores geeking is coming out, but they had a cart at the exit of Pirates for a while, and then did I say Pirates? I meant Mansion. I'm sorry.
Mansion. It's okay.
They had a cart there for a while, and let me tell you, it was a nightmare to work because it was hot and it was a horrible location. So having a shop there's going to be great. I suspect, they haven't said anything about it, but I suspect they're going to have a better, more ADA compliant system for getting in people with wheelchairs. I suspect that the queue will be, because they're doing the whole thing. I mean, well, I just was at Disneyland. I did Disneyland last weekend, and then Disney Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom last weekend, and then I did Disneyland on Wednesday. So it's all very fresh. And so much of it is blocked out. It's not even funny. It's like so much. So it's going to be such a huge, significant difference. And I think it's going to benefit the queue experience because you won't have that cattle yard thing going on so much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see how far they'll take it, because the interactive queue in Florida, they did a whole lot with that, and I feel like Disneyland has not taken the opportunity to do too much with interactivity in queues.
You're speaking of the Peter Pan's flight in Florida, right? How interactive it is there.
But also Haunted Mansion. They had that. You remember,
you're right. Yeah, they had the musical tombs they had. Yeah, and even the Seven Dwarfs
Mine Train. Yeah, stuff like that. Yes. So Florida has a lot of interactivity in their queues, and Disneyland does not.
Yeah,
it's
So I don't know if that's truly just the changes that are occurring. I don't know if that's going to change my opinion on East versus West. If there's other ride changes itself that are coming, then I don't know about them, and that might change my opinion about it, but we'll have to see. We'll just have to see. All right, so I think that's the last question for now. I can think of no better time than to kick off the topic of this particular podcast episode, which is the opening day speech that Walt Disney gave at Disneyland, Anaheim, California, on July 17th, 1955. So for those who are on who have never heard it before, and I think there's probably only a few that have not, I'm going to go ahead and play it for all to hear. Just give me a second to pull it up. It's a little quiet. I'm going to turn up the volume, but then I'll turn it back down when we come back in, so I hope you guys can hear it. Here we go.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land. Here age relives fond memories of the past, and here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and the hard facts that have created America, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all the world. Thank you.
I wish I could go back in time and be there for that
Right.
date. Now, not just to just be there for the speech, but just to have been able to see him while he was alive, and just have been part of that experience. It's something else being at Disneyland itself. Like I said, it brings back lots of great memories, but it means so much to me how his inspiration and his dreams actually created something that makes me feel youthful, and I think in a way helps us look youthful as well. Because you have a young mind, you have a young heart, you have a young face. I mean, it's very possible, and I believe that carries forward in a lot of things in life. But what a great speech. Any overall comments on the speech in general before I kind of go into my little fun facts about it?
Sorry. I don't know if this is something you're going to cover, but I think it's very significant that every opening day speech afterwards took inspiration from it.
I lost audio. Can anybody hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, but I can't hear you guys now. So bear with me here. We are having some technical difficulties. We will be right back.
Can you hear me now? You are muted. You are muted. No, I mean, it says you press mute.
There we go.
There you
I'm
go.
muted. Okay, but
Can you
I
hear
still
us?
can't hear you.
Oh.
Well, this is embarrassing. This happened like right in the middle of our stream. And everything was working fine. I didn't touch anything, I promise. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. Let me look through the comments.
We can
really
hear
quick.
you.
Everybody in the audience can hear me, but we can't hear you guys. So I am gonna ask you guys. I'm gonna boot you guys out and have you rejoin and see if that makes a difference. Okay. So I'm gonna kick you guys out. Hit the link, come back in, and we'll resume then. All right. Let's see. Is there any questions that I can field while they are coming back in, since I apparently am the only person that can actually be heard? Isn't the fun fact Joshua's thing? Yes, and I will give him proper credit when we get to that point. Trust me. Okay, Lisa's back.
Can you hear me, though?
I cannot hear you. I can see your mouth moving, but I cannot hear you. Give me 1 second here. Let me make sure. What happened to my audio? Everything's on. Could be you played the audio. Let's see. I don't think that had anything to do with it. Okay, so did you hear the crowd go, yay? Okay, so it's my speakers. Something's happening to my speakers. Shame on me. I don't know what the heck's happening with my computer. I'd say reboot, but it's going to end the stream and we're going to have to come back, but I don't know what that's going to actually do to the show, so... crud. Let me go to settings, let me go to audio, let's go to speakers. Nope. second.
Can you hear?
Reduce mic background, nice stereo audio. Well, I apologize, folks, but this is not going to be much of a podcast if I can't actually have both of my co-hosts hearing me.
Well, we can hear you.
So I'm going to end the stream, I guess. And
I can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Maybe restart and come back. I hope this is going to work. I've never tried this before. But give us about maybe 2 minutes and we'll see what happens. Hope you all come back. Just give us a moment and check the stream again, okay?
Okay.
Okie dokie. Oh, we're still here.
I know. That's interesting.
Wow, this is exciting.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody who's here.
We're still streaming.
You're still streaming?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're still here. We can hear each other.
But is everybody still on there? Hello?
Yeah, we're all here.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's even more embarrassing than we thought.
I know, right? Well, at least I'll know what I'll edit out once I get everything done.
So, Mimi, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, I'm going to answer.
Do you have a particular item that you collect that's Disney? Just pick one, like your favorite.
Okay, so I have a lot of. So this is kind of a double-edged thing because I have a lot of Peter and Wendy stuff, but then I have a lot of pins. Mostly Peter and Wendy pins.
Okay.
So many Peter and Wendy pins. It's not even funny.
Okay.
An unreasonable amount of Peter Pan and Wendy pins. It is bad.
Okay. And so my thing that I love to buy at the park is ears. So I
know
a lot.
I know. I heard all about it.
So, yes, I went with the classic,
I almost wore ears today, and then I was like, I don't want to have to go through my storage to go look for them. You can't hear us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Oh,
okay. We're back
the
on
reboot
board.
works, and it's good to know that you guys are still in the studio and everything is still streaming. That was really awkward.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And
that was
we
so
were
awkward.
asking each other questions, so we continued.
We were. So
thank you so much. That's why I chose you guys as co-hosts. There was a reason for that.
I'm going to jump in super quick to clarify something that I Googled while I was waiting for things to come back up. They are doing ADA compliance on the Haunted Mansion. There's going to be an elevator at the exit now.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Okay, that is cool. So then
the queue is supposed to tie into a more generalized plot.
So then the people
Thank you, Bart.
Hi,
nice to see you here, Bart. Sorry.
Huh? Oh.
Old friend of mine. Very old friend of mine.
Oh, I want to kind of go back to some comments because we've actually kind of gotten backed up a little bit here.
Right.
First of all, love Amanda's comment. Hurry back. That was awesome. And then Andrew says he's actually heard of Skipper Natalie. Isn't that crazy?
Did we go on Jungle Cruise with a legend? Because
we might have gotten a celebrity while we were there.
Wow.
That is so funny. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is I can hear you, I can hear them. Lisa, how are you? Amanda says, Lisa, how are you? Did you see that at all, baby? That Amanda said, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Amanda.
How are you? And let's see. Oh, Andrew says, I love these exciting action sequences. Okay, just bear with me, folks, while I kind of go through the rest of these. There is no such thing as an unreasonable amount of items on a collection, Mimi, says Bart. Is that the one you were responding to?
Yes, he's a very good friend of mine. We've been friends for, 15 years. Almost close to 13 years, something like that. Ugh.
Okay. And then Andrew, okay, I got to highlight a couple more quotes from Andrew here because he's got the great stuff. Everything under control, situation normal.
Right.
We're all fine.
Couldn't be-
all fine here.
Couldn't be any
How are
less
you?
under control, right? And then he says he actually saw a YouTube video of that skipper. So that's I think we must have gotten lucky with that one. That's pretty cool. All right. Okay, let's close that out. Let's try to wrap this up because we have 15 minutes left before the hour is up. Not that we can't go over,
Right, but we were talking about Walt's speech when.
And I'm getting back to it.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah, because I haven't even gotten to the fun facts yet. I mean, I haven't even started that. All right, so the fun facts. Let's see, where do I got? I got my little side cheat sheet here. So Walt's opening day speech, even though he only said it back in 1955, I do believe they play it during every anniversary of Disneyland, and it only actually appears in the park 2 different times. And I'm pretty sure I've told you this many times because I've talked about it as part of the episode today, and Mimi, I'm sure you know about this as well. But the first one I think people pass up a lot because it's in a place where it's right after you go through the underpasses of the railroads, whether it's left or right. And most people, when they come into the park, they're just going straight past everything else and heading straight to their first ride. So the flagpole where they do the flag retreat every day, at the base of that flagpole is a little plaque, and it actually has the full speech that Walt Disney gave. That is the first place that it appears. The second place it appears is not a visual thing, but it is actually an audio thing. And I have a little fun fact about this because when you pull into the New Orleans Square train station on the Disneyland Railroad, you hear this tap, 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 tap of Morse code playing in the background. That is Walt Disney's opening day speech being tapped out in Morse code. But thanks to Josh Schaefer, our fun facts guy, I have learned recently that it's not the entire speech. It's only the first 2 sentences. It's not the full thing. And Mimi, did you know that at all?
I did. I also heard a rumor as to why it is Walt's opening speech, but I always take these things with a grain of salt.
And I think that's what I've been told as well. That's one thing that Josh had told me as well, is that it's rumored, and this is what I will read, kind of just sort of, sub-paragraphing here. Apparently, the rumor is that when it was first installed, it was an old Irish bar joke instead of the first 2 sentences of the opening day speech. And in the 1920s, Lillian Disney, Walt's wife, worked as a telegrapher in her early adult life at the train station in her hometown in Idaho. Now, she noticed the message when she heard it for the first time and told Walt that might be a little inappropriate for a family place. So I believe the decision was made, or it is rumored that the decision was made to change it after she said, that's probably not a good idea. So leave it to the wife to say, honey, I think you need to change that. Probably not going to be playing that in front of kids. Not that kids are actually going to know what Morse code is, but they might have known about it more back then than kids would now today. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, we can certainly thank Lillian Disney for some wonderful choices. Like the
the
petrified wood in Frontierland at Disneyland was a gift from Walt, and she said, "Oh, honey, this is lovely. Why don't you go put it in your park?" I think that's a great idea because what in the world are you going to do with a big old hunk of petrified wood?
I don't think there's petrified wood in any of the other parks either. That's a specific Disneyland thing too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's true.
And for those who don't know, we're talking about this big old chunk of petrified wood. I don't know how wide in diameter it is. It's got to be like 8 to 10
Quite
feet,
large,
maybe. Yeah, it's from a petrified tree, and it is right alongside the rivers of America, just kind of left of the station of Mark Twain's riverboat entrance, I think. Kind of around that area, on your way towards the Pirates. So that's
excellent comment, Amanda. Excellent. Yes, she is also to blame for Mickey.
Yes, there's Amanda's comment, and for the name Mickey, another Lillian idea. Andrew says, I thought it was always a cool little Easter egg. I agree. I love that because, and I love feeding people this piece of information, not only in forums like this, but also when we're standing in line at the parks, or even when we're standing in line at the train station itself. And, we start spouting all these little fun facts and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, oh, well, did you also know? And this is, And this is Josh to a T, and we will definitely have him as a special guest on here someday, and he will.
That's going to be fun.
That will be fun. We'll have oodles and oodles to talk about.
Yes.
Amanda has graced us with the information about the size.
The tree is 7.5 feet in diameter and weighs 5 tons. 5 tons? That one little piece.
Wow.
That's a lot of wood.
I call it little, but it
wood.
Seriously. Andrew says,
Andrew, that's exactly what I heard.
Andrew says, I'd always assume that, and I'm sorry, guys. The reason I'm saying this out loud is because we are going to be also putting the audio on other channels like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and other things as well. So, hoping that people that are listening will be able to hear the questions, since they can't see them. So Andrew says, I always assumed that Walt was enthusiastic about the petrified wood, but that Lillian really didn't want it around the house.
Yeah,
I guess he had
when I did traditions, which is like Disney 101 for when you start working at the parks. One of the things they do, pardon me, is take you around the parks, and they tell you little things about wherever your area is. I was working at Disneyland Park, so they walked us around all of Disneyland and told us fun facts about little things, and that was one of them, was that Lily was not enthusiastic about the wood as Walt was.
Yep.
Oh,
we lost you.
Because I muted myself.
Okay.
So was the petrified wood actually at the house?
I don't know that. I just know that it was I think it was an anniversary gift, if I'm not mistaken, from Walt to Lillian, and she was like, I think we should put it in the park instead of having it here because
Right.
Yeah. I would agree.
The thought that counts, says Amanda.
Yes, definitely.
It's the thought that counts.
All right. So I wanted to kind of do a little bit of a breakdown of the speech, just really quick, because it's a very small speech, but it's so impactful to me, and it's actually something that has drawn a lot of inspiration for tons of companies, other theme parks around the world. Given people a lot of things to, I believe, dream and inspire to become, because even though there was lots of problems with Disneyland when it first opened, at one point they just got it right. And I don't know if Walt really knew how big it would really become, but I know he saw some growth of it before he had passed away. But the speech in itself was almost like he knew the future, and I think it's something that's just got a lot of incredible messages in. And it starts off with, "To all who come to this happy place, welcome." And I'm sure that's probably why they call it the happiest place on earth. But I love the fact that he is inviting everybody. He doesn't care who you are, where you're coming from, what state in the United States, what country in other continents. You are welcome to this happy place. I mean, who wouldn't want to go, right?
Yeah.
It's just super inviting. I love it. And the next one is something that I use all the time. Disneyland is your land. Yeah. I mean, okay, sure. I go there and it's mine. This is all for me. I mean, yes, I know it comes at a price, and I know we get a lot of harumps and curmudgeonly, smirky comments around that kind of stuff, but and Andrew even echoes,
so significant.
And Andrew even echoes the most important line in the speech is Disneyland is your land. I think I agree. I think that is my favorite part of the whole thing. Now, there's a lot of other things in the speech that there's a lot of, hemming and hawing and backing and forthing on. And I think even some things that, have been removed from the speech in certain Disney celebrations, but we'll get onto that in just a second. He says, "Here age relives fond memories of the past." Now, obviously, I don't have a full history on, why he said that, but there is a lot of history in the park itself, not just American history, but it's also his hometown history. Go ahead, Mimi. I saw your hand up.
I would say that from interpretation, knowing what I know about the next line, this is talking about here, the elderly, the people who have been here can look back on what they knew with nostalgia.
Yes.
Things like Main Street USA and Frontierland. This is something that you can identify with.
It's definitely
My
something. Yes,
opinion.
and I wholeheartedly agree. There are other ways of looking at it as well, because what are we doing when we go there? We are
Oh, no,
creating
absolutely.
memories, and we are creating our own history with the park.
Mhm.
And I mean, what do we do when we are away from Disneyland? We talk about Disneyland. We talk about like, oh, what our next trip is, and we talk about, oh, what rides are being changed and what, new attractions are coming and things like that. It's a great topic of conversation, and it brings up a lot of memories from our past. Like I was saying before, when I first went to Disneyland, it's just something so incredible to me. And even the most recent trips that we've taken, maybe with your dad.
Yes.
And those kind of things will never be forgotten. Do you have anything that you wanted to comment on these before I keep going?
No, go ahead.
Um, oh yeah, and just personal fun facts as well, because here age relives memories of the past. Walt was, I believe, in his 50s when he gave that
Yeah.
speech. He was born in, I think it was
1901.
1901, and he was 53 at the time when he wrote the speech. And he had grown up in Marceline, Missouri, so a lot of his references from his hometown were actually put into Main Street for the architecture
Mhm.
and his love of trains. So a lot of his memories of the past and his love of American culture and stuff like that go into it. So that's another thing that I think can be played into there as well. And here youth may savor the challenge and promise of the future. Now, do you have any insight on that particular one, or is it just more of a open for interpretation?
I think it is open for interpretation, but if we were going with the implication that I was vibing with before, this is a land for young and old,
Yes.
where the old can enjoy what's familiar and comfortable,
Right.
and the are able to rocket themselves forward into what's coming.
And I don't know if how challenging it was for youth back then, but I know the youth of today, they've got a lot of weight on their shoulders with the future
Oh,
that
yeah.
America has in store for it, or the world has in store for it. But maybe that had something to do with it as well, and this was a place to help inspire them for those kind of things. Never know. Disneyland is dedicated to the ideals, the dreams, and hard facts that have created America. This is the line that I was talking about, and
Mhm.
kind of getting on the little negative part of it. I think a few years ago, maybe even as early as 2 years ago, I want to say it was for their 67th anniversary. They took that line out of the speech, and apparently it was omitted because of recent decisions to change certain dialogue within the Disneyland parks itself, similar to the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. They don't say that anymore, and I understand why. I mean, there's obvious reasons, because people are actually changing things, the way that they identify themselves, and we want to make sure that we are being
All in,
politically correct
all inclusive.
and all
Mhm.
inclusive. Although I do miss the ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because it's what I grew up with. But I'm okay with the change, because I don't
Yeah.
want to offend anybody there. We want it to be happy for everybody. Um, and the thing that I think is kind of odd, because of them removing it, is that it talks about the dreams and the hard facts that have created America. Now, I know there's a lot of differences of opinions about what those hard facts are, because everybody's got, good and bad things to talk about. But again, most of them people are talking about are bad. But if Walt did not have the ideals and the hard facts, those dreams that he had about what created America, would we even have Disneyland today?
No. No,
I
we
don't
would
think
not.
so either. I absolutely don't think so either. So I'm okay with whatever ideals and the dreams and the hard facts that he had to create this legacy, because I love it.
It cannot be said enough that Walt was the American man. Um, and I know that it may mean a lot different to people of today. I'm not getting into that. I'm talking about Walt. Walt was an American man through and through. I mean, all you have to do is look at look at Frontierland. I mean, it's not
Yes.
an old Western town. It's not an old Western town. If at Disneyland, if you walk into Frontierland, you're walking into a fort. And as you see the first shops, those shops are Native American dwellings and old fort buildings. And then as you move forward, it goes into the Western stagecoach kind of buildings. And then as you go on, it gets closer and more modern into the Golden Horseshoe, where it's this beautiful late 1800s architecture. And then of course you get into New Orleans Square. It's built that way. It is history. It's not just here's Western stuff because Western stuff is cool. It's history. And Walt was
Right.
so, and again with that, Disneyland is your land. This land is your land, which is something
Totally. Oh my God, I never even made
deeply
that
American.
connection. Yes, absolutely.
I didn't make it until you said Disneyland is your land earlier, and I went, oh wait.
I like it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Bart says one creates their unique Disneyland experience every trip with endless possibilities. Absolutely.
I love that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Andrew says that it's to point out that this is something for all ages to identify with and connect with, both young and old. Yeah, and I think we lightly touched on that too. And the reason Walt had created Disneyland was because he was with his children at Griffith Park, and they were riding the carousel, and he literally had the idea for Disneyland right then and there, where he's like, there needs to be a place where families with, adults and children alike, where they can enjoy attractions across the board and not just be, oh, let's take the kids here because it'll be fun for them. Let's make it fun for everybody. And what an amazing legacy it's created since then, which brings us to the last sentence, which says, with the hope that it will be a source of joy and inspiration to all who come. Now, I think that this one's almost as big as Disneyland is your land, and here's my reasoning why. There are a lot of people who have borrowed ideas and technology from Disney all across the world, whether it's Six Flags, Cedar Fair, Universal. They have borrowed ideas from Disney theme parks and have made amazing attractions of their own. So, I mean, what better way to inspire fun and imagination and dreaming than to say, hey, here's what we're doing, and we hope that this will inspire you to do your own, dreaming and imagination and stuff like that. And one of the things, okay, now I'm going to get my nerdy side here. I've been nerdy this entire episode, but for those who know me, I play video games a lot. Some would say too much, but everybody's got to have a hobby, right? I have like 20 hobbies, not video games, but I have a lot more video games. Anyway, I digress. One of the games that I have is called Planet Coaster, and it is a theme park simulation that you can actually build your own theme park, like literally from the ground up. You start with the entrance, you can create a roller coaster, you can do flat rides, dark rides, spinning rides, carousels, all sorts of things, that whatever's available in the game. And a lot of the inspiration I took was, of course, from things like Disney. And I even get so crazy and detailed about stuff where I build the experience so that way when you're in the parks that I'm in, that the little guests are in the game, that everywhere they look, there's no sign of the outside world. Just like Walt wanted it to have. He wanted you to go to a place that immersed you in something completely different and made you forget about everything else on the outside. And that is one of the things that I love about Disneyland. What about you guys?
Oh yeah. I mean, I could go on and on about all of the things that the Disney parks especially, but Disney in general, has been as an inspiration. I mean, you have George Lucas was inspired by Walt Disney, what he did. I did a whole thing in school about this was ages ago, about marketing for film, about doing like toys to tie in with a film, which didn't become a thing really until George Lucas did it with Star Wars on a large scale. But he was inspired by Walt's use of it with what Walt did with his films and things. Walt was big on having the toys and stuff. Little things like that. I mean, but then bigger things. I mean, look at what they did in the 90s with Innoventions, you know? I mean, it's constantly been this. There's a reason why Tomorrowland doesn't work, and that's because it catches up so often to the real future. But part of that was Disney saying, look what could be, and then the world responding and saying, look what is.
Yep.
You know, a lot
Absolutely.
of that. So the inspiration of the Disney parks on their own, whether creative inspiration or technological revolution, is astonishing. I mean, to think that before Disney parks, we did not have audio animatronics. We did not have animatronics that moved like that. You might have a figurine in a dark ride in a haunted house somewhere whose arm shoots up, and that's all you got. I mean, my God, just astonishing what the Disney parks created and what the innovations that they were able to.
Mm-hmm.
Look what they're doing with projection mapping nowadays.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's
they're updating old rides with projection mapping, and it makes it look like a brand spanking new ride. And I love that. I love that they're taking just today's technology and blending it with the rides of old to just make it fresh.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the kind of direction that they really need to continue doing. Don't tear down and rebuild. Just enhance what's already there. For some of them. I know that there's some things where I'm just like, I could do without it. But anyway, that is the inspiration
something
that we're talking about.
That I had touched on earlier, which is something that Amanda said in her comment here. I love that the dedications at the other Disney parks mirror the cadence of Walt's speech at Disneyland. That was something that I said before the whole podcast fell apart, that I was talking about. Where all the other Disney parks used, if I'm not mistaken, I know for sure Walt Disney World and Paris did. I assume the others did too, for their opening day speeches were inspired by Walt's speech, and used portions of that, which I think it's very poignant as to the significance of exactly how inspirational Walt's speech really was.
Yep. Amen. All right. I'm going to go to a few comments here before I start getting into the closing of this, because we are a little past the hour. I had planned on just having this be about an hour long, but since the technical difficulties, whatever, we're going a little over today. Going to break my own rule. Let's see. Bart says Walt was known for creating the impossible, or I think he meant making the impossible possible. Many things we have today is thanks in part because of Disneyland. New technology created for entertainment became a part of everyday life. I think that's one of the big things that he wanted Tomorrowland to convey too, was that it wasn't just what's the plaque above my office say, baby? It's like, here you leave the world of today behind and enter a land of adventure, fantasy, and tomorrow, or something like that. Is that am I close?
Is it the plaque that's above the? Is it the same as the plaques that are above the tunnels?
Yeah.
Yes.
Here you leave today and enter a world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy.
I knew I had them backwards, but yeah. That's the worlds that he wanted people to walk into, and I think Tomorrowland was the part where it would be sort of like an ever-changing thing, because I know that the vision of tomorrow back then is a lot different than the vision of tomorrow today, if that makes sense. But yeah, anything, like all the new technology is just, it's constantly catching up. Let's see. Amanda says, I love the dedications of the other Disney parks. I think that's what you were just saying. Her comment was from earlier.
Yeah.
Let's see. Loving the breakdown of each line of the speech too. Great topic. Thanks, Amanda. I appreciate that. And I agree. It's something that a lot of people don't really think about anymore. They just think about the now and how much, it's like, they want change, but Disneyland will never change, and that's the whole thing. Walt said that, as long as there is imagination in this world, Disneyland will never change or never stop changing, or something like that. I think I might be botching that quote too, but it's something of the like. It was certainly a huge inspiration for me. I dare say that I wouldn't be who I am today or would have had the life I live if it weren't for Disneyland. You know what, Andrew? That is a fantastic thing to say too, and I never thought about that. But for those who don't know, our friend Andrew in the comments here will be a special guest on a future episode, and he actually does have ties to Disneyland in sort of a 6 degrees of separation sort of way.
Right.
But if you get a chance, look up his name on IMDb, and you'll see his credentials. He's got some work behind him. He would say that he's worn a different helmet for a few years for for Lucasfilm and for George Lucas and Lucasfilm. Yeah, so look him up. You'll be
the
happy.
quote, by the way, that you were trying to quote was, "Disneyland will never be completed. It will continue to grow as long as there's imagination left in the world."
See, I get my little my backwards brain, but I still hear it
And then
in my
Bart
mind.
just posted it too. So
Yeah. Oh, Patricia
they're helping
says
us out.
Yeah. Patricia says that after trying out Apple Vision Pro, which I believe is a augmented reality visor, there are a lot of cool things coming. So I'm wondering if she's meaning that it's going to, those kind of technologies will be integrated into the parks. And I know that they do something similar like
I
that
wouldn't be surprised.
at Universal Studios in Hollywood, where they have the Mario Kart ride at the Super Mario World.
Oh,
Because I
yes.
think you have to wear some kind of augmented reality
You do.
goggles while you're on that ride. I haven't been on it
I've
yet.
been
Have
on
you?
it.
You've done that? That's right. You did say that you've been on that.
Yeah,
I
it's
would love to see what
neat.
Disney does
It's
with it. Yeah.
interesting. Especially because it is very much it's incorporating technology with reality and different experiences every time. It's crazy. It's crazy how these things
I
have
love
developed.
technology. Every time that there is an update or a new invention, I love watch. There was a Imagineer who gave a little video clip, and I saw it on Disney's YouTube channel, and I forget the name of the Imagineer, and if somebody knows it out there, if you're Googling stuff, then please go ahead. But he invented this platform that people can stand on, and while you're wearing like a VR headset, you can walk literally in any direction, and these little tiles below your feet move so that way you can walk on them without actually going anywhere, but you can still turn and you can run and you can walk, and the tiles are so they're like smart tiles. I don't even know exactly how they're made, but they actually showed a person sitting on a chair on top of this floor with these little tiles, and he could actually direct the chair to move in any direction he wanted to. Just by moving his hand, like a wave of his hand, he was controlling the movement of the chair on the floor. So I have no idea what the heck they could use that for in modern day Disney parks, but my mind is just like, yes, please bring it, because I'm excited to want to see and do it myself.
Yeah.
Let's see. A few more comments here. Walt did an amazing job with the creation of Disneyland and his contribution to the 1964 New York World's Fair.
Yes.
Very good point.
Absolutely.
Yes. And for those who don't know, Jerry Cornell, themeparkology.com, there is actually a DVD out there about the 1964 to 1965 World's Fair, narrated by yours truly. It is a lot of fun, and if you guys want to know a lot of the history about Walt Disney's involvement in the World's Fair, it's a two-part series, really. The first one's about the New York World's Fair, and then the second DVD, which I think is still yet to come, is all about Walt Disney's involvement. It talks about his involvement a little bit in the first DVD, which is out now, but the second one will be released, I'm guessing, in the near future. Disneyland will never be... Yeah, I think that's... Thank you, Bart. You've been a great help. I appreciate your help on this one, buddy. I think that's what Mimi looked up as well. Walt made it possible for all dreamers' dreams to come true. He definitely made it he was a good inspiration for people who had the same kind of dreams.
And that's Kay's comment.
Yes, I know. I keep saying Venetia, but I'm just reading the names that are on here. But yeah, hi, I know Kay. Sorry. And then the last comment, let's see. Bruce Vaughn as Disney CCO was the CEO and CCO of Dreamscape Immersive. Let's put that one up there. And he worked with VR technologies. So it is very exciting to see if he brings that background to Disney in the upcoming years. There is a lot that still can be done with VR. And to see how much it's grown over the last even just like 5 years. I even remember when VR was a thing like over a decade ago, and they had, little places you could go to in shopping malls where they would have like a little rinky-dink VR set with not nearly the same amount of graphics that are available today, but the possibilities that are out there now are exciting and completely
Disney has
limitless.
always been interested in how they could use VR. Take a look back at Disney Quest in, I think it was 1998, out in what is now Disney Springs. And they had like this, they had several VR, an Aladdin flying carpet thing that was VR, and it was, you know, really old graphics, but like Disney has always had this. I remember they had the, what was it called? I don't remember what it was called, but they had an outside company come in and do in downtown Disney at Disneyland and also in Disney Springs VR. I don't know if you saw it. It was like a, you know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it's called.
I forget the name of
But
the
they had
company
like a
that did
Star
it.
Wars and a Wreck-It Ralph
Yes.
immersive experience, things like that. So I think Disney definitely has an interest in VR for sure, and always has, as long as, I mean, it's kind of hand in hand with what Disney is doing with trying to immerse you in another world.
Yeah, I think the challenge for them is going to be how can they do it in a way where you know, they can have it interact with, you know, thousands of guests per day and still have
and
it
not
safe
give
for the
everyone
public.
COVID.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the big challenge.
Yeah.
All right. We need to kind of wrap things up here. I've got some closing comments, but did you guys want to bring up anything before I get to that pot?
The
That
void.
spot?
Thank you. I kept wanting you to call it the grid, and I knew that
The
was
void.
wrong.
Yes, I know. Yeah, that is
It's
right.
not
Thank
Tron.
you, Amanda. It was called the void. And maybe I think we were taking a trip to Disneyland once a few years back, and I had made a comment that they had this VR experience, and I think it was in downtown Disney, close to the Disneyland Hotel, or maybe even in the hotel itself, where you could do all these things. And I want to say the one that I wanted to do was like a stormtrooper. You could be like a stormtrooper or something like that. And
it was next to where the Disney Home Store is now, I think.
Okay.
And the cupcake place.
Gotcha. I think I know where that's at. Is it close to like where the Lego store is? Down like
It's
towards the end?
further in than the Lego store, but you know where that big round bar restaurant thing is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the corner there, but now it's gone. They took
Amanda
it out a few years ago. The CEO went bankrupt. I could get into that, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I know way too much about that, but that's from a whole nother topic that we don't have time for.
Amanda says it's a Pele shop now. I don't know what's Pele.
I have no idea.
I don't either, but it's a different shop now. She confirmed it's definitely gone, just like you said. All right. Well, I think we're good. I really, even despite my technical difficulties on my side, that was clearly my end. I have no idea what happened, but hopefully it will not happen again. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun answering a lot of the questions and just fielding everybody's comments. That was super fun. I want to thank my co-hosts, Lisa and Mimi. Mimi, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of great times with this. Any comments on that before?
Will.
Yes. You agree?
I'm excited.
I'm hoping you agree anyway, because this is going to be like a long haul thing. I really want to make something big out of this.
Right.
I also want to thank a few other people. Sean Williams from Walt's Apartment Podcast. He actually gave me a lot of great ideas for how he does his podcast on his end. So I owe a lot of my thanks to the creation of this podcast with his help. Chris from LMG Videos or LMG Vids on YouTube. He actually allowed me to do some of his videos in my opening video, so I do appreciate that, Chris. He's also agreed to be a special guest on the show on a future episode, so I'm looking forward to that because he's done a lot of videos on YouTube for that. My friends Jerry Cornell and C. Andrew Nelson, who are hopefully still on the chat, for their artistic feedback on the creation of the show. I showed them copies of the logo and bounced names of the show off to them, and they gave a lot of great feedback. And I do appreciate everything that you guys did to help me out, so thank you for that. And to everyone else who has always encouraged me to put my voice out there because, like 20 years ago, this wouldn't be me. I'd be still playing video games in my apartment and sheltering myself from the world, but I love this now. I have definitely become more of an extrovert in my life, and I'm happy for it because, it allows me to put things out like this, and I'm hoping that it inspires others to do the same. For the latest news and information on upcoming episodes, please be sure to find us at Main Gate Magic on Instagram and also on Facebook. I don't have a website up yet, but if you guys want to know about upcoming episodes or any inspirational quotes or pictures from the parks, please feel free to check those out on Instagram and find out what is coming next. Our next episode will be cast member spotlight, and that is all going to be about Miss Mimi and her experiences as a former cast member. So be prepared.
Stuff that will probably get me to never be allowed to go back to working at Disney, but not bad stuff.
There, you
I'll
know
just
what?
tell you things that I'm not supposed to know.
I
Not
understand.
insider secrets.
No,
Not
no.
insider secrets.
And you and I have talked
No.
about this before. I know exactly what you're talking about, but again, it's
I
going to
can't
be
not talk about it.
it's
You
going
guys
to
are
be at
gonna
your
love it.
discretion. I know it is going to be released. You got some pretty good stories, and I can't wait to get them out there if you're still willing to do it at that time. So again,
I am.
2 weeks from now, it'll be on a Tuesday again. Let me just pull that up on my calendar here. I believe that's going to be on the 26th. So cast member spotlight with Mimi. Please join us on that. If you liked this, please give it a like, follow, share, and provide feedback. Please, I am always liking to hear feedback from everybody. If you liked it, great. Tell me. If you didn't like it, tell me you didn't like it, but tell me why you didn't like it, and give me some suggestions. Why are you laughing?
Bart's comment.
Whose
The Disney
comments?
lawyers are outside my door as I'm saying this, waiting to hear the magic words.
I don't know why they're outside of your
that's
door. They
it.
should be. Wait, is that our doorbell ringing? Maybe they're at our door. All right,
We're
but
all
yeah.
in
Anyway,
trouble.
give us your feedback, guys, because I would love to hear it, positive or negative. And if you have an idea for an upcoming episode, please let me know because I'd be happy to hear it. Until then, it's been a pleasure hosting today's episode, and we all hope to see you here again on the next
And
one.
I want to thank all the friends and family. Thank you for joining.
Yes, thanks
Yes,
everybody.
You too as well.
We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again. Bye-bye.